Hi everybody, and welcome to the Accessible Literacy Learning Program, Part 1. Today's workshop was pre-recorded by the AAC SLP team, but we are here at the workshop too, and there will be opportunities to ask us questions at several points during the pre-recorded presentation. We respectfully acknowledge that we live and work on the ancestral, unceded, and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Our school teams want to know about the latest evidence-based literacy instruction for our learners with complex communication needs. Our non-speaking students can and should receive literacy instruction. And the ALL program is an evidence-based instructional tool we can use to support that goal. Today's workshop will show you how you can implement the ALL program with your students. The program was developed by Janice Light and David McNaughton, and they created it to meet the needs of individuals who communicate using alternatives to speech. It is literacy instruction that eliminates the need for oral responses. Part 2 of this workshop will take place on October 5th from 3:30 to 5:30 in the Garibaldi Annex Gym. The ALL program teaches reading skills to students with a variety of complex needs. It doesn't require oral responses, so it's suitable for our students who don't use speech as a primary means of communication. The ALL program teaches students to decode three-letter words, such as cat or bag. And it's just one part of literacy instruction for our complex communicators, and it needs to be supplemented by other literacy instruction. While doing the ALL program, students still need opportunities to select and share books, build new vocabulary, use their AAC to express new vocabulary along the way, and also work on structured writing with support. The ALL program is appropriate for non-speaking or minimally verbal children or adults who are ready for conventional literacy instruction. And we talk later about what it means to be ready for conventional literacy instruction. We'll talk about that more later on. There are criteria to using the ALL program, and ALL is not appropriate for students who don't know most of their letters most of the time, who do not engage actively in shared reading, students who do not have a means of communication and interaction, and students who don't yet understand that writing involves letters and words. These students are not ready for the ALL program. Students who haven't acquired these pieces are still eligible for literacy instruction, of course, but they're not ready for ALL, and it wouldn't be a good choice for these students. Now, if you can answer yes to the following questions, your student is ready for ALL. Does your student understand basic questions and instructions? Understand simple conversations about events outside the environment? Recognize pictures or drawings, communicate using AAC, have a reliable means to indicate a response, such as pointing, and demonstrate an interest in books, letters, or the keyboard, but just can't read simple books yet. If you can answer yes to those questions, your student may very well be ready for ALL. Now, let's take a minute to look at why it's important to teach literacy to our complex communicators. Unfortunately, many of our students with complex communication needs have not had the opportunity to participate in effective and appropriate literacy instruction. This leads to them falling behind in level and sometimes not even acquiring basic literacy skills. Literacy skills are not only important for accessing education and professional opportunities, but they have additional impacts on personal relationships, self-esteem, attitudes, self-perception, and literacy allows us to individually communicate anything we want. Being able to read and write has wide-ranging benefits that go beyond conventional learning settings.
So, how does the ALL program fit into literacy instruction for students with complex communication needs, or CCN? For students with CCN, we take a comprehensive approach to conventional literacy instruction. We will talk more about what the term conventional literacy means and how it compares to emergent literacy. But for now, let's take a look at the bubble diagram of conventional literacy. It includes reading comprehension, self-selected reading, independent writing, and structured phonics. You will notice that the ALL program, written in red, is within the bubble of structured phonics. The ALL program includes some phonics, phonological awareness, and teaches students to decode three-letter words like bet, mad, and sit. This means that it is just a piece of good literacy instruction and cannot be the student's only literacy instruction. If we are only supporting our learners with the ALL program alone, they will not learn to read texts with comprehension. They need a comprehensive approach that gives focus to each of these bubbles and takes them beyond reading three-letter words. Comprehensive literacy instruction takes the view that literacy develops across a continuum, from early emergent to conventional literacy. Now, this is not something special for students with complex communication needs. They develop language and literacy skills along the same developmental continuum as their peers. However, they often arrive at school with limited experiences of typical early literacy and language activities, and are usually at the beginning of this continuum. In the early emergent stage, they are just starting to learn that letters exist, that squiggles on the page actually mean something, and that we can write whatever we say. In elementary education, we often don't give much thought to emergent literacy because it happens naturally for non-disabled students. When they arrive in kindergarten, many of them are well on their way at the late emergent stage and spend the first year at school moving along the continuum to the conventional level. It is important that we understand what part of the literacy continuum our learner is on, so that we can provide them with the best instruction for their stage. If students have not yet developed the foundational skills of emergent literacy, then they are unprepared for conventional instruction like the ALL program. You're probably starting to wonder how you can determine which stage your learner is at. We're going to take a look at two tools to help us do just that. The first tool, which we call the 4 questions, will help you figure out if your student is emergent or conventional. The second tool, the Snapshot Assessment, helps you create a descriptive picture of the learner and understand their strengths and stretches. Both of these tools are available to us at the Vancouver School Board, and completing them is required to determine eligibility for the ALL program. So let's look at tool number 1. We use these 4 questions to help us decide whether our student is emergent or conventional. Ask yourself each of these questions and answer yes or no to them. If you answer no to any of them, your student is at an emergent literacy level and is better suited for emergent literacy interventions. If you answer yes to all of the questions, your student is at a conventional level, and the ALL program will be an appropriate intervention for them. So let's take a look at each of these questions. They are pretty straightforward, but I want to clarify a few things. The first one, does your student know most of their letters most of the time, is quite simple. Just answer yes or no. The second question, does your student engage actively in shared reading, is more nuanced. It is not enough that they attend passively to the book and sit and listen to you as you read to them. We want to be thinking about whether they are making comments with AAC. Are they engaging in communication with you about the book? If they don't do these things yet, answer no. The third question is also somewhat nuanced. Does your student have a means of communication and interaction? To answer yes to this, they have to use AAC to communicate for a variety of functions like commenting, telling you what they want, and sharing their ideas. If they use their AAC device to request food and preferred items primarily, you would answer no to this question. Sometimes people interpret this question to mean, do they simply have an AAC device, yes or no? And that's not what we're asking here. It's not enough to just have an AAC system. We are asking about how they use it. The final question, does your student understand that writing involves letters and words, is simple. If they know that letters are different than pictures, then answer yes. Let's take a look at a couple case study examples to practice answering the 4 questions. This is Lucy. She's in grade 1. Lucy has cerebral palsy and is learning to use a pod communication book. She can say ooh and recognizes the letter U in her name. She knows no other letters. She uses facial expressions to show her engagement during shared reading. She throws books when given the opportunity to explore them independently, and she can clap along to a beat. Let's answer the 4 questions with Lucy in mind. Does she know most of her letters most of the time? No, not yet. So far, she knows the letter U in her name. Does she engage actively during shared reading? No. She smiles and engages that way, but she's not using AAC to communicate about the book. Does Lucy have a means of communication and interaction? No, not yet. Her team is working on it. She's being introduced to POD, but she's not yet able to communicate independently using that tool. Does Lucy understand that writing involves letters and words? Yes, Lucy does understand this. She knows the letter U in her name. She's starting to understand that we can write whatever we say and that text has meaning. So, with the answers to these 4 questions, we can confidently say that Lucy is at an emergent literacy level and that emergent literacy instruction is appropriate for her. So if we take a look at the continuum on the right, Lucy's in that emergent blue stage. She's not yet in the gray conventional area. So we know that the ALL program is not an appropriate intervention for her yet. Let's take a look at another case study. This is Leon in grade 3. Leon has complex communication needs and uses LAMP words for life to communicate. He knows most of the letters of the alphabet most of the time. He's interested in books and makes comments with LAMP like, "Oh no," during shared reading. He communicates his needs and ideas with LAMP using a restricted vocabulary. Leon is a great artist, and he draws intricate pictures of monsters and writes a jumble of letters as the name of the monster. Let's answer the 4 questions with Leon in mind. Does Leon know most of the letters of the alphabet most of the time? Yes. Does he engage actively during shared reading? Yes, he makes comments like, "Oh no." Does Leon have a means of communication and interaction? Yes, he does. He's using LAMP to communicate his thoughts and ideas. And finally, does he understand that writing involves letters and words? Yes, he does. He certainly does. He writes the names of his monsters by putting a jumble of letters together. So what does Leon need? He needs conventional literacy instruction. We answered yes to all 4 of the questions, so he's at a conventional level now. And a program like the ALL program is totally appropriate for Leon. Let's have a look at our 3rd and final case study, Oscar in grade 6. I want you to pay special attention to this one because it's a bit different than the last 2. And I'll say anecdotally, this is the most common type of profile that I see. So I guarantee that there will be some of you here today that have a student just like Oscar. Oscar is autistic and minimally verbal. He inconsistently uses Speak for Yourself, or SFY, to request a small number of foods and preferred activities using rote phrases when prompted. He doesn't use SFY to initiate, comment, or ask questions. He knows most of his letters most of the time and understands that text has meaning. He will watch during shared reading, but doesn't use SFY to make comments or ask and answer questions. So, is Oscar emergent or is he conventional? And is the ALL program appropriate for him? Well, he does know most of his letters most of the time. We'll give him a yes on that one. But he doesn't engage actively in shared reading and doesn't really have a means of communication and interaction yet. He does understand that writing involves letters and words. So this puts him at the late emergent, early conventional level. He's not quite conventional yet, but he's on the cusp. He's in that gray area. So what Oscar needs is a lot of emergent literacy instruction still. He needs a lot of support to grow his language and vocabulary, develop his interest in books, but he knows about letters so far, so he is appropriate for the ALL program. We see a lot of kids like this that are in that gray area, and they are a yes to knowing their letters and knowing that text exists, but they still are a no to the engagement and communication part. So the ALL program is appropriate for this type of student, but we have to still be giving them emergent literacy activities as well to help develop their language and communication and interest in books. Now that you have an idea about how to determine whether the student is at an emergent or conventional literacy level, I want us to give it a try. Think about the student you work with and discuss these 4 questions with your team. Go through and answer yes or no to each of them and determine if your student is at an emergent level, a late emergent level, or a conventional level. We're going to spend some time to do this now. Let's take a look at the next assessment tool. the Snapshot Literacy Assessment by Vicki Rothstein. This is a checklist rubric that assesses literacy skills across the developmental continuum. It looks at 6 domains of literacy, including motivation and interest in reading, literacy interactions, print awareness, symbol, letter, and sight word knowledge, phonological awareness and decoding, and reading comprehension. Completion of the Snapshot Literacy Assessment, along with the 4 questions, is required to access the ALL program. The Snapshot Literacy Assessment helps us to collect descriptive information about our students' strengths and stretches. It is a snapshot of their literacy skills at one point in time and acts as a baseline measure that we can use to compare their growth throughout the year. You will notice that the Snapshot Literacy Assessment uses the same language that you are now familiar with, emergent and conventional literacy. On this assessment, transitional is the gray area we talked about where students are late emergent or early conventional. On the second page of the Snapshot Assessment, you will find the row labeled Symbol, Letter, and Sight Word Knowledge. This row outlines important skills that we must consider for eligibility for the ALL program. If the student has skills in the first 2 columns, they are not yet a candidate for the ALL program. If they have the letters skill circled in the transitional row, then they are a candidate. Let's take a moment to work with our teams to fill out the Snapshot Assessment for the student you work with. Go through each of the rows and determine whether the student is emergent, transitional, or conventional for each of the domains. Let's do this now. If you have used both of our tools, the 4 questions and the Snapshot Literacy Assessment, and have realized that your student is not yet ready for the ALL program, do not fret. We have recorded Pro D sessions that go into detail about how to support emergent literacy learners with a comprehensive literacy approach. Please do not hesitate to reach out to your AAC SLP or school-based SLP should you have questions about emergent literacy instruction. We are here to support you in supporting your student and helping them move along the literacy continuum towards conventional literacy.
Now we'd like to give you an idea of how ALL can fit within your broader literacy program. So for those following a SOLAR or Science of Language and Reading approach, ALL does fit within this approach. SOLAR isn't a focus today, so for those who aren't familiar but want to learn more, you can speak with your school-based SLP or reach out to the Garibaldi Learning Services literacy team. So if we look here at Scarborough's reading rope, you can see that the goal of reading instruction is ultimately reading comprehension, which is marked on the left. But getting students to comprehend what they read means we have to focus on several language skills and word recognition skills. So the green portion of the rope shows the skills involved in language comprehension, and the orange portion of the rope shows the skills involved with word recognition. So the ALL program works mainly on building decoding and phonological awareness skills, which are within the orange strands in the word recognition portion of the reading rope. So this diagram shows you the components of structured literacy instruction, or the what that is involved with teaching reading. So here you can see it's breaking down again language comprehension into one section and word reading or decoding in another section. So comprehensive literacy instruction should include teaching in all of these areas: phonological or phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary and oral language, and comprehension strategies. So the ALL program is specifically focused on developing phonological awareness and phonics skills. When we look at the skills falling under the umbrella term of phonological awareness, there are many skills that can be taught. These skills are represented by the raindrops underneath the umbrella. So the skills move from light blue on the lower left being less complex to the dark blue on the upper right being more complex. So the ALL program specifically only covers the basic phonemic awareness skills of what they refer to as segmentation, but could be considered onset rhyme segmentation or initial sound identification, and also blending of 3 sounds into words. So it's great to work on these skills, but you should be aware it isn't focusing on other phonological awareness skills. So for example, once a student can identify initial sounds, maybe you'll want to work on identifying final sounds or medial sounds. Or if your student is working on blending 3 phonemes, but it's difficult, you might want to consider starting by blending 2 phoneme words. Or once they master, say, your 3 phoneme words, we might move on to working on blending 4 or 5 phoneme words. So the light and dark blue raindrops are skills that ALL does not cover. The ALL program focuses on building letter sound knowledge for the letters of the alphabet. It suggests an order of sound introduction, but a team could choose to deviate and follow the order the class is following if your class is using a phonics program. So the example here I have is the Jolly Phonics program, and I've shown their sound list on the right-hand side. So you can see there's a lot more than just the 26 letters of the alphabet. So it's just good to be aware it covers 26 sounds in the ALL program rather than the approximately 43 sounds that students will need to know in order to read. So if you teach the 26 letters of the alphabet, just keep in mind you'll have more sounds like digraphs and diphthongs and things like that to teach afterwards.
So how much time would you devote to the ALL program? Students with complex communication needs likely require more literacy instruction time than their neurotypical peers, as skills are often developed more slowly. Having said that, there are many demands on a student's schedule, and this would have to be individualized to your student. Often teams will do daily practice, 10 to 15 minutes, once or twice a day, but even twice a week for 30 to 60 minutes in the research has shown significant benefits for students. What is the sequence of instruction that you would follow? In most cases, students will be working on multiple literacy skills at the same time. So by working on, say, 2 to 4 skills, it introduces variety and helps speed up progress in a number of areas. At first, though, the instructor may want to stagger the introduction of new tasks to avoid confusion about their requirements. So by introducing one new skill per day. In the early stages, students will receive instruction in phonological awareness skills. So the first 3 binders: sound blending, phoneme segmentation, and letter sound correspondences. And you'll be practicing these in the next session. As soon as they acquire a few letter sound correspondences and are able to blend sounds, learners can move on to other skills, as well as ongoing instruction in new letter sound correspondences and review of previously mastered skills. The instruction follows a most to least sequence of support that promotes errorless learning. So pictured from the left-hand side, modeling right through to independent practice. Instructors should provide multiple opportunities for students to learn and practice each skill, with materials varied across trials and sessions to avoid rote memorization and to facilitate generalization of skills. As students acquire these skills, it's important to provide further opportunities to apply them in meaningful and motivating reading activities. So the instruction would follow these basic steps, starting with modeling, where the adult demonstrates the skill, Then guided practice, where the instructor would provide scaffolding support or prompting and teaching to help the learner perform the skill successfully. They gradually fade the support as the student develops competence. And this would be followed by independent practice, where the student would carry out the task independently, and the adult would monitor the learner's performance and provide feedback about correct and incorrect responses. There are 6 binders in this ALL program, 5 of which we will be reviewing in these sessions. The first 2 binders involve phonological awareness tasks, the first one being sound blending. This binder focuses on blending 3 sounds or phonemes. The second binder is Phoneme Segmentation, which involves initial sound identification. The third one is letter sound correspondence for the letters of the alphabet. You will have the opportunity to practice these first 3 binders in the next session, part 2 of this workshop. The fourth binder is decoding 3-letter words. And the next binders focus on the application of decoding skills and the reading and understanding of simple texts. The ability to apply skills to sound out selected words during book reading. The fifth binder, sight words, won't be covered in our sessions, but we will discuss this further. And finally, the last binder is shared reading. We're calling it fill in the blank, as this task involves reading specific words as they come up in a sentence. In addition to teaching these skills, adults should be regularly reading to learners with complex communication needs and discuss the books with them. The first binder, sound blending. As typically developing children learn to decode words, they often say the sound for each letter and then blend these sounds to produce the word. So sound blending is the ability to build words from individual sounds by blending them together in sequence, such as in the word run, run. This is an essential skill to the process of reading. The goal for the first binder would be for the learner to listen to the target phonemes in a word presented orally, with each sound extended 1 to 2 seconds. Blend the sounds in sequence, determine the target word, and indicate the word by pointing to the appropriate AAC symbol. Some sounds can be held continuously, for example, and s. So you would say it for 1 to 2 seconds. Others cannot, such as b, d, k, t. So say the sound and then pause. The following is a brief demonstration of sound blending using the ALL program.
Okay, so we're demonstrating a session, what a session might look like for sound blending. At the end of your binder, you'll find a data collection sheet, and this is what it looks like. So at the top, you'll want to circle guided practice, because that's what we're doing in a session. We're guiding a student through practice. Now, before the session, you have to take a little time, just a couple of minutes, to fill out the data collection sheet so that you know what your target was during the session, and so you know what they were able to choose from. There is a cheat sheet. So this is at the beginning of the binder, page 1, and it's the index for your, in this case, sound blending task. And this gives you all the information that you need to fill in your data collection sheet before you get started. Okay, there's those 2. Now, every binder has a script, and this helps you know exactly what to say to your student when you're doing each task. So I'll demonstrate the script and the task for sound blending. Okay, we're going to learn about the sounds that make up words. This will help you learn to read. First, look at these pictures. we've got, and then up here you've got your list of words that are your potential targets. So you'll say we've got tag, bag, bat, bug. Now I'm going to say a word slowly, listen to the word, and then I'll point to the picture of the word that I've said. Okay, I'll say the word slowly. Tag, tag, tag. Now I'll point to the picture of tag. Tag, tag. Okay, I'll do another one. I'm going to say the word slowly. You'll listen to the word, and then I'll point to the picture of the word. I'll show you. Okay? B-ag. B-ag. Bag. There it is, bag. And after you've demonstrated the task a couple of times, you'll want to do a guided version where you're going to ask the student to do it together with you. So you'll say, now let's try one together. I will say the word slowly, and then we will point to the picture. B-at, b-at, bat. Now let's point to the picture. And then you'll pause to see if the student goes toward the correct choice, and you'll help guide them toward the correct choice. Good, bat. You pointed to bat. Thank you for showing me b-at. Okay, now it's your turn. I'll say the word slowly, and you'll point to the picture. Okay? B-at, b-at, bat. Okay, your turn to point to the picture. Show me b-at. Okay, and the student will point to one of the pictures, and you'll record on your data collection sheet whether they pointed to the right one, the target word, or they pointed to the incorrect one. So if the target was bag and they pointed to bag, you would give them a little plus sign. So when you're collecting data, you've filled it all out, just a plus or a minus over here. If they pointed to the incorrect one, you'll give them a minus sign.
The second binder, phoneme segmentation. As neurotypical children learn to write words, they usually say the word slowly and try to isolate the individual sounds in the word, and then determine the letters that represent these sounds. So phoneme segmentation skills are the ability to break down words into their individual sounds. For example, the student may break the word run into its component sounds, r, and n. This skill helps with writing. The goal for this binder would be for the learner to listen to a target phoneme or sound presented orally, and will match that phoneme to a word that begins with the target phoneme by selecting the appropriate AAC symbol. Next is an explanation and demonstration of phoneme segmentation in the ALL program.
Now we're going to demonstrate what a session might look like for phoneme segmentation. So this is a separate binder from the sound blending one. So you'll have all new pictures and data sheets in here. So let's look at a blank data sheet again. So this is what you'll find at the back of the binder. So you'll be able to fill one out for each of your sessions. And here's an example of how it would look like when it's filled out. So just like with the sound blending, you'll fill out the name, date, your name, the type of skill you're targeting, and then your target words here. So as an example, we chose bag and nap, and then you'll also circle what kind of instruction you're providing for your student. So again, we're working on guided practice, so we're guiding our student through their practice. And these target words you can find in the index form, again, which is at the front of the binder. So this is where you can find all your targets and fill out your data sheet according to the target word and all the choices that you have written down. So again, like for sound blending, you will have a script that you can follow, and you will also be using your picture card. So I'm just going to walk through the script. All right, so first you want to introduce the task. So we are going to learn and listen to the sounds that make up words, and this will help you to learn to read. So you want to put your picture card or response plate in front of your student, and you can tell them that first, let's look at these pictures, and you're going to want to point to each of them and say the name for each picture so the learner is familiar with the vocab. So map, lit, bag, and nap. So you also have these letter cards in the front of your binder, which you will use together with the picture card. So after you introduce all the pictures, you'll continue with your script. So now we're going to start. I'm going to say a sound, listen to the sound, and point to the picture of the word that starts with that sound. So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to say a sound. B. And then you want to show them the letter card when you say the sound for them, but you are not going to say the name of the letter. So just make the sound for them. Now I look at all the pictures. Which one starts with B? So you're going to point to each picture and you're going to say the name of the picture again. So map, lit, bag, nap. And then you're going to repeat, and you're going to do a pause between the first sound and the rest of the word, just to emphasize that initial sound for your student. So app, it, the egg, app. And while you're doing that, you want to indicate whether it is the correct word for the sound you're targeting. So app, that's not B. It, that's also not B. Egg, that is correct. That's a B sound. App, also not B. So we're going to repeat our target word and our target sound, bag. And we want to elongate the initial sound, B, egg. Bag starts with B. So you want to emphasize that for your student. All right, so now we're going to do another one. And we're going to do this one together with the learner. So that first practice was you modeling the task for your learner, and now you're going to do it together with them. So we're going to do one together, and we're going to use the same example, bag, just for the purposes of the video. So you would put the response plate in front of your learner again, and you would repeat by showing them the pictures and saying their names so that the learner is familiar with the vocab. And then you're going to start with the script again. So I'm going to say a sound, listen to the sound, then we will point to the picture of the word that starts with that sound. So, B. You want to show them the letter again. So again, we're not saying the letter name, we're just saying the sound. Now let's look at the pictures. Which one starts with B? And here you will be providing a pause for your learner to allow them to respond independently. give them some time to think about the task. So you can give them a pause, and then you can label each of the pictures again, and you want to stress the initial sound. So map, it, egg, app. And after each one, you'll give them a pause so that they can take the time to respond on their own. So app, provide a pause, and your learner can indicate whether it's the correct sound or the incorrect sound. So if they indicate bag as the correct word, then you can repeat bag. Egg starts with b, and you can give them that positive feedback. Okay, so we're gonna do another one. And this time, this is more independent, so your learner will be, you'll be providing more pauses, more time for the learner to respond on their own. So you can tell your student that now it's your turn, and then you'll put the response plate in front of them again. You can review the vocab again with them if you're using a different response plate. And then you'll start with your script again. So I'm going to say a sound, listen to the sound, then point to the picture of the word that starts with that sound. And you'll show your letter card again. So, B. And here you will really pause and focus the attention on your student. And then you can prompt them, look at the symbols, and ask again which one starts with B. And here you want to provide a pause to let them respond. So if the response is correct, you can give the student positive feedback. So you can say, that's right, bag starts with B. And then you want to point to the symbol. If the response is incorrect, you can give the learner corrective feedback. So you can say something like, oh, you pointed to nap. We need to find the picture that starts with B. So then you would point to bag, and you would say bag starts with B.
Binder 3, letter sound correspondence. This involves the knowledge of the sounds or phonemes represented by the letters of the alphabet, or graphemes, that are then used to represent the sounds. And so letter sound correspondence refers to the code of the written language. It is recommended that letter sound correspondences should be introduced one at a time, and the following scope and sequence is recommended as a guideline, listed on the slide and in the manual. The sequence can be modified to account for letter sound correspondences that the student has already learned. A note about letter sound correspondence and the teaching of the recommended sequence. Letters that occur more frequently in simple words, such as A, M, and T, are taught first, generally, and that letters that occur less frequently would be taught later, such as Z, J, and Q. Short vowel sounds are taught before long vowels. Lowercase letters are taught first. And this is just a general guideline. Of course, you can modify the sequence depending on which letters your student already knows. And next is a brief demonstration of the letter sound correspondence in the ALL program. The next binder is letter sound correspondence. And like the other binders, there's an index for letter sound correspondence at the beginning of the binder, listing target letters as well as words that start with that letter. There is also a teaching script and a data collection form at the back of the binder where you would encircle instructional guided practice and letter sound correspondence, and then begin to fill out the letters that you want to target along with letter choices across here. You would start with 2 and then build up to 4. As well as an instructional plate, an instructional card. And you would say to the student, we are going to learn about the sounds that letters make. This will help you learn to read. So you'd show the instructional card, and you would point to the letter and say its sound and trace it. There are 4 AAC symbols of words that start with that letter that you would say to the student. So you'd start off by saying the letter sound, and then point to each of the AAC symbols. Man, man, mop, mop, mad, mad, mum, mum. Then there are also some letter cards. For the next part, you would model the letter sound correspondence. So by selecting 2 letter cards and putting them in front of the student, you'd say, we are going to learn about letters and their sounds. I'll show you. I'm going to listen to the sound. Now I look at the letters and point to the letter that says as in mom. You'd repeat the model using the target letter and a different foil. And then we'd be varying the order as we go along as well. For the guided practice, again, we'd select 2 letter cards, the target letter and a foil, and put them in front of the learner and say, let's do one together now. I'm going to say a sound, listen to the sound, then look at the letters and point to the letter that makes the sound with me. Let's point to the letter that says So we would point together, and I encourage the learner to point as well with me to as in mom. And we continue to provide guided practice, giving lots of support and encouragement and extending so that you build up to 4 letters for the choices. So for independent practice of letter sound correspondences as they begin to learn the letters of the sounds they make, you'd select 4 letter cards and say, now it is your turn. I'm going to say a sound. Listen to the sound, then look at the letters and point to the letter that makes the sound. And you'd wait for the student to point. If they point to the correct letter, you'd say, that's right. This letter says as in mom. If the response is incorrect, you'd give them positive corrective feedback. You pointed to s. We needed to find as in mom. And we'd repeat the guided practice step for the sound and repeat the independent practice. Binder 4, decoding 3-letter words. Research suggests that most learners with complex communication needs have not had the opportunity to learn decoding skills. These skills are critical for learners who want to read and understand material contained in books and other texts. In the decoding task, the student must first look at the letters in a word in the correct sequence, such as in the word big, recall the sounds for each of the letters, hold the sounds in working memory in sequence, blend them to determine the target word, recall the meaning of the word, and then point to the picture that represents the word from a group of 4 pictures, such as big, pig, bib, and bug. The teaching trial should focus on words that contain only the letter sound correspondences that the learner already knows. As they learn more letter sound correspondences, new words that use them can be added to decoding instruction. So the goal is when presented with a regular consonant-vowel-consonant word in print, the student will decode the word independently and then point to the word by selecting the appropriate picture. At first, the instruction should target simple decoding tasks, words containing 2 to 3 letters and sounds, and then you can introduce more complex decoding tasks with more letters and sounds involved.
So the next binder in accessible literacy learning is decoding 3-letter words. So for this one, first we do a demonstration to introduce the task. So we'd introduce the task. We're going to learn to read words. This will help you learn to read Spider-Man books and text Auntie Susan. First, let's look at these pictures. Bad, dad, bed, bag. I'm going to read this word. I'm going to point to the letters and say their sounds. Bad, bad, bad. Now I'm going to point to bad. Let's do another one. And then you would do more demonstrations. After you're finished the demonstrations, you go to guided practice. And so we would pick another plate and let's do one together. You're going to review the pictures again. Bad, dad, bed, bag. Let's look at the letters. Say the sounds in your head. Bad. Now we point to bad. And then you could give them feedback, do that again. And then we move to the independent practice. And I'd say, now it's your turn. Let's look at the letters, say their sounds in your head, and point to the picture. And I'd wait for the student to point to bad. And then you can give them feedback on if their response was correct or not. And you can also take your handy data form. You'll have the targets here and your stimulus words here, and you can put a plus or minus to say if they got it correct or not. We're going to be giving you guys some information about sight words, but we won't be covering the sight words binder today. So here's the word recognition or word reading portion of the reading rope that we discussed earlier. So we talked about how the ALL program focuses on the phonic decoding and phonological awareness strands in that portion of the reading rope. There is a section for sight word recognition, but that's sight word recognition of familiar words. What are sight words? The scientific definition is any word that a reader instantly recognizes without conscious effort. It can have regular or irregular spelling or be a high frequency or low frequency word. A sight word is any word that you can read instantly. That makes it a sight word for you. How are sight words stored? So sight words are stored as a sequence of sounds for which strong phonological awareness and phonics are needed. Words are not stored using our visual memory. So it actually involves different brain areas if we're storing the image of the dog versus the sequence of sounds that make up the word dog. Ultimately, skilled readers look at all of the sounds in a word to read or decode the word. So after a student has done this enough times, they'll be able to read the word automatically and it will become a sight word for them that they no longer need to sound out. So for example, if I see the word cat, it's a sight word for me. I see it and I know instantly that it's cat. A grade 1 student just learning to decode may still need to decode the word by thinking about the letter sounds and blending them together. So you might hear them say something like cat, cat. This is not yet a sight word for them, but with practice will become one.
Binder 6, Shared Reading. As soon as students begin to acquire single word decoding skills, they should be given a number of opportunities to apply these skills during reading activities. Reading a variety of texts will help learners understand the purpose of the instructional sessions and will increase their motivation to learn to read, as well as generalize their skills and give them practice in decoding accurately and fluently. Shared reading provides an opportunity for learners to apply decoding skills during actual book reading activities. So this task, we think it should be called fill-in-the-blank reading, as the students are reading words they already have learned to decode in the context of a sentence. So when they already have acquired some skills, they can participate in shared reading activities where the instructor reads part of the text and then pauses to allow the student to decode the words in the text. The student could use their AAC device or another communication board related to the book reading task to point to the words.
Okay, so our next binder is the shared reading binder. And this is an interesting binder because what we're going to do in this is take a look at a book together. And there are some highlighted words in the book, and they're actually the words that we've been practicing in the past binders to learn how to blend and decode. So we're going to be reading those with this binder. So the materials that we need are the book, and then there's a response plate that has all of the target words in the book. And then we want to take the script, but we want to say, today we are going to read a book together. I will read some of the words in the book and you will read some of the words. We are going to read a book called Where Is That Dog? Let's look at these pictures. Bad, dog, dad, kiss, fan, bed, mad, rug, mud, and lap. And read the title of the book, Where Is That Dog? And you want to introduce the topic of the book and just talk about what the book is about. It's going to be about a dog. Try to connect it to their life. Ask them if they have a dog at home. What does their dog like to do? Does their dog get in trouble? Just try to relate it to their own life experience. And then you can say, let's see what this dog likes to do. And read the text in the first sentence. Where is that dog? Pam has a, and then you want to pause and give them an opportunity to sound out that word themselves. And you can even say, now it's your turn to read that. And then give them time to read that word, and then you can ask them to tell you which word it is. So they might point to dog once they've sounded it out, and you can say, yeah, that's right. You read dog. And just repeat that again. Pam has a dog. And you'll do that with each of the pages in the book. You'll stop at each highlighted word and give them a chance to read that word themselves. And then as you go through the book, you just repeat each step, and then you can reread the book again and have them decode the word again, and talk about the book with them and ask them appropriate questions. What do you think will happen to Sam's dog? What happens when your dog is bad? Different questions to have them thinking about the book and commenting about the book. And you can record all of that on the data collection form. You can make a list of target words and just record their response and a plus or minus depending on their answer.
Please note that the student may not become a reader by simply completing this program in isolation. It's important to give them additional opportunities for reading and writing, as we've mentioned, with books, other written texts such as magazines, letters, email, Material online and personalized books could even be created with favorite photos and some text. Also of note, for students with physical access involvement, for example, they can't point to the pictures, the program would need to be adapted, such as presenting pictures in a different format, such as those students that are using eye gaze. You can reach out to your AAC SLP for assistance with this.
For the last part of the presentation, we are going to talk briefly about the ALL application. So the app can be downloaded on a tablet such as an iPad or on a phone. The ALL program is available in two formats. That's the paper-based and the app version. And what you viewed in the videos previously was a demonstration of how the paper-based version can be used. The ALL software consists of the same components as the paper-based resource and provides direct instruction in each skill. Skills include letter sound correspondence, sound blending, phoneme segmentation, single word decoding, sight words, and shared reading, as we have demonstrated earlier. Progress for all skills and subskills is tracked and can be reassessed to ensure the skills are attained. For the paper-based, you would be tracking the progress by hand on the data sheets. If using the app, the progress will be automatically tracked within the app. The app can be used instead of the paper-based version, but student engagement and individual needs should be thoroughly considered before providing instruction using the software only. Just to compare, the paper-based version costs around $1,000, whereas the app costs about $80 to $100. So there is a significant difference in cost there. Again, it's important to note that although the app may seem appealing due to convenience and cost, the needs of the student and their level of engagement should be considered before going to app-only instruction. The app shouldn't be used in a way where the student is left on their own to complete the activities. And whether you're using the paper-based or app version, there should always be support staff present to ensure the student is completing the tasks appropriately or to provide assistance if needed. We do recommend using the paper-based resource first and using the app in addition to the paper-based, or in situations where there is limited time or space, as it's smaller and more portable. So moving to the next slide, we're going to have a closer look at the features of the app. Here you can choose the profile of the student you'll be working with, and you will need to make a separate profile for each student in order to track their curriculum, the settings, and their progress. Once you choose the student's profile, you can see the skills overview page. Here you can choose the skill you want to work on. So you will see the app is in teacher mode at the moment, and this offers the teacher overrides for skills. Once you're ready to start the task with the student, you would change the mode to student mode in the upper left corner. And student mode will track the progress and show you what skill is coming up next. So now the app is in student mode. From here you can start the session. At the bottom you will see the skill you are currently working on, or in the case of the image, the skill that is coming up next. So if you are in the middle of a task, it will show in progress. If you're transitioning to the next task, it will show up next. Still looking at the bottom of the page, you will also see the mode you're in. This is separate from the teacher-student mode. What is referred to here is the level of assistance provided during the teaching. So just like for paper-based, you have 3 levels or modes. The first one, involving the most assistance, is called teacher-assisted. Here the teacher or support staff goes through the tasks together with the student, and the staff provide all instruction targets and prompting. The next level or mode is called full instruction, and here the student completes the activity independently, and the app provides all instruction targets and prompting. The last mode is called targets only. The student completes the task independently, and the app only names the targets and prompts. So on the next slide, you can see an example of a response plate, and in the bottom right corner, you will have the vocab written down for your reference. And the images on the app should be the same as the images in the paper-based version. Finally, the app provides a library of books to choose from, and preferred ones can be saved to the student's profile. And these books can be used for the shared reading component of the program. To conclude, we have a few resources for you. The first one is Janice Light and David McNaughton's webpage from Penn State. Here you can find detailed info about the ALL program and its components, as well as some FAQs about the curriculum and some other resources. The next resource is from Bridges. That's the official vendor for ALL. The website also provides some details about the program, the pricing, and its components. And our last resource for you is a Teams channel that we have made for anyone in the VSB who will be using ALL. So you'll be able to share information, ask questions, problem solve, and anything else you might want to share or need help with. We hope this will be a useful resource for you, and we look forward to connecting with you in schools and on the Teams channel.